Stathopoulos and Josh Phegan come together in an incredible podcast, Grow, Scale, Master.
An energetic approach to drive progress, master skills, build strengths and put the strategy back into rapid business and personal success.
Backed by real-world experience in rapid scaling to playing the long-term game of business, it's the story of all the lessons learned on the journey to mastery.
Be inspired, renew your energy and chase the future with Grow, Scale, Master.
There's a great conversation in life that there is a war for talent. And that is such an important conversation inside of any business because we know that the quality of the people determines the quality of the outcome. Now more than ever before, you got to start thinking very differently about not just, I'm going to go out there and recruit and put an ad in the paper or put an ad online and hope that someone's going to turn up off my Instagram, but I've got to really start to make sure that I get my organization right first before I even start going out there to try to find great people to come and work for me.
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. I mean, it's all about talent attraction, identification, recruitment and then retention and growth. And it is definitely a war for talent because the talent field out there is the existing agent pool. But what we tend to forget is all the agents that are sitting behind, like the tip of an iceberg. There's all those agents, all those people that have that potential. There's so much talent sitting there. And right now, if we're not focusing on that talent, it's going to go somewhere else.
This really is an important conversation around, getting your organisation fit for people to come and work for you. And one of the first places that I usually start is your facilities. And it's amazing how I'll walk through an office with someone and no one else will be around. I'll be standing there with the business owner and say, hey, what do you think? I'm like, well, you know what? There's 3 different photocopiers from the 3 different acquisitions you've done. There's 4 different types of filing cabinets. I thought we were all digital here. We're in a position that the place hasn't been painted in ages. It's beautiful out the front, but it's terrible out the back where people actually work in terms of light, conditions, parking, all of the above. And then you walk into some other organisations where the facilities are absolutely Mickey Mouse, but it's a ghost town and there's not a single person inside the business. So it's not the only thing, but how important is it about getting the facilities right so that people actually want to work inside the organisation?
Well, I think it depends on which audience you're catering for, to be honest. Like sometimes the video doesn't match the audio and sometimes the video absolutely matches the audio. So what I mean by that is, in our world, the actual customer is the agent, the property manager, the leasing officer, etc. So if you're focused more about the people that are coming into the office that want to give you a listing or a management versus the people that are actually bringing in the listing or the management, well, that's what your strategy is going to look like. So for me, my customer is the agent, their client is the buyer and the seller and so on and so forth. So I think it's critically important. And I also think that I don't think we need to be cute like the Googles of the world where we've got gyms and childcare centres and whatnot. And I think they're fantastic if you can afford them and you've got the space, but you need to provide cutting edge facilities to be able to let people do their best work in the best environment.
For me, I just think about the basics of natural light is probably one of the most important things.
Fresh air.
Making sure it's fresh and making sure there's some good energy inside of the office with the people, the music that's playing, what it's like to come inside of the office in the organisation, and basic things like kitchen facilities are to standard.
Yeah.
The secondary part, and this is a really important thing, is that people want career progression. And if they're not actually getting, they at least want the perception of career progression and they want to know what's actually next for them. Now, this is not saying that I'm going to accelerate someone well ahead of where they're at. It's actually about saying, okay, great. So what do I need to learn? What do I need to study? Who do I need to become? What are the sort of behaviors I need to exhibit for me to be able to progress my career with you? Tell us a little bit about why career progression is important because, sometimes people are given a job and you're like, oh, great, I've got that new property manager. And in your head, you've gone, that position's fixed for 20 years. Yeah. And it turns out that's not actually how they think about it either.
Yeah, I think it's really important, Josh. I think anyone worth having wants to have a plan about where they want to go in life. And so for me, it's all about making sure that people have a very clear plan. They absolutely have milestones around their journey in terms of their learning and their education. But more importantly, they want to be able to know what the future looks like. So what's the vision? What's the game plan and how do they actually get there? And I think that's, something that a lot of people have lacked in real estate. And I think that, leadership in real estate sales in particular is a big gap. And I think what we're doing is we've got a lot of talent sitting in our seats, but we're actually not nurturing and fostering them and demonstrating where they need to be able to enhance their skills. But more importantly, if they enhance their skills, what does that mean for the organisation?
Now, this is a great conversation because, some of the best people that I've ever met as business owners, leaders inside of a business, head of operations, anyone who's head of PM, head of sales, they usually started in leasing.
Yeah.
And you can start in leasing where you get to meet a lot of tenants, you get to meet a lot of people who are applying for properties, you get to learn about properties, learn about people, you then get exposure as you step up into that BDM type role to be able to meet landlords, understand compliance, understand the sales capability, move into a property management capacity, learn everything that's actually required. And then if you wanted to, you could then sidestep into sales circa 24, 25 years old, move yourself in a position that you've got a ton of knowledge, a ton of customers, and be either great in an operational role or great in a sales role with the depth of knowledge, skill, and expertise to absolutely crush it in sales. Do you think that too many people don't really think about where do people enter into this business and then how do they then progress to becoming one of the greats inside of the business over time?
Well, Josh, John McGrath started as a leasing agent.
Yeah.
I mean, and look at what he's been able to build over 40 years. I think it's very obvious that when we're looking to attract talent, we're looking at other agents and other agencies. And I call that the inner ring. The outer ring is probably the sales associates that sit in those teams, or potentially even the agents that sit on peripheral suburbs that you can import in that have more access to sales volume or a higher average sale price. But for me, leasing, new business, the people that are actually in front of people, closing deals every single day, that's absolutely the best breeding ground for me to recruit people.
The next conversation is about access to customer base. You know, when I talk to a lot of people that say, hey, Josh, I'm about to go. I'm going to go and work for this particular business. What do you think? And I'll say to them, okay, great. So why are you going? And they're going, oh, because of X, Y, Z. And one of the greats is when someone says, hey, look, I'm actually going because there's a really good quality customer base. So there's some past clients, there's some archive landlords, there's some landlords that we can go to call, and they've got a really clear data strategy and a group of people that I can go after. And to me, that's like really exciting versus, well, you know what, we're going to give you an area and go and build all of your data yourself. And I think that we're now in this position that, you know, data is equal, but relationship is not. Inside of the organization, is there actually opportunity that these people can now go and serve our existing customers? And this is really when you come to join the platform, you're serving the customer base that we already exist in, and you learn how to multiply the customers that we get to meet. So minimum number of open for inspections, meet a certain number of sellers, get to meet the people next door, have a conversation with a past client in the street. And if we're doing that really well, that actually makes that whole conversation, because inside of business, it links to this next one is that I love an organization with low politics.
Yeah.
Yeah, Con, what's politics to you?
Bureaucracy, red tape, friction, conflict, unnecessary noise.
Restriction.
Yeah, restriction. I think anything that dampers someone's spirit to be able to progress to another level. And I think what you said is perfectly well said. If you've got access to a platform isn't just the technology. A platform is all of it. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's the facilities, it's the culture, it's the energy, it's what does the sales floor look like and smell like and feel like, and the energy that comes through. And, you know, is it a progressive business? Does it have strategy and foresight? Is there a plan? Is there a vision that people want to be a part of? But the biggest thing about it is that the reason why most people leave their organisation is because of politics. Mm-hmm. You know, call-in registers. I mean, in our business, we've got an access to the call-in register. Anyone can see any call-in at any time, so there is no friction. Mm-hmm. So we've made it easy for people to be able to go, hang on, why haven't I got a call-in? Well, we haven't had one. Mm-hmm. It's as simple as that. It's not because there's a perception that someone else has got them. So I think low politics, great culture, career progression pathway, excellent platform equals success.
Power of strategy too, right? Like if you know that you're going into a business that says, okay, great, you know, Colin, this is what we do. We do open for inspections, we do auctions, we do vendor paid marketing, we sell properties under 28 days or less. We believe in 10, 10, 20 either side, the 40, 40s, the conversation around literally making sure that every single campaign turns into two more. That's the basics of how we go to run our business.
Yep.
And, you know, like we know that in our team, we're going to hit X number of open for inspections on a Saturday, have X number of auctions booked ahead. These are the periods of the year that we expect to be low productivity periods. These are where we expect the high productivity periods. And this is what we do to kind of like make sure that we've got a ton of momentum. Like that to me is a really well-planned business. And I think that literally when you think about that, it relates to the quality of the brand because the brand's really clear about what it's trying to do in marketplace. And then also too, it also is like depth of relationship because like as long as you play the game here and you do these things, it's going to be really easy to do it.
Yeah.
Now, some new research that I'm reading the other day said that it's really hard for people to leave an organization where they believe that they've got a best friend. Yeah. So this is an interesting thing. It's like, imagine you did a survey of all of the staff sitting inside of your business today and said, hey, quick question, who's your best friend at work? And anyone who can't name a best friend tells you that all of a sudden, not only are they at risk of leaving, but they're literally on this little island on their own, sitting inside of the business. And this is that whole period is that like, if their best friend leaves, they're going to.
Yes.
And so this is a really important part to actually start to think that you're building that inside the organisation. And Con, would you stay or leave an organisation based on the tech stack that they have?
Not really, to be honest. I think I'd probably stay or leave an organisation based on their philosophy around growth and strategy.
Yeah.
So if someone was completely closed off to be able to look at something that progresses the business forward, makes the customer journey a lot easier, but isn't willing to do so because of tech implementation, cost, whatever it might be, then probably that might throw a spanner in the works for me. But I think...
What happens if it goes the other way?
Oh, and
They pull tech.
They pull tech?
That's actually really important. And or there's functions you're not allowed to use that anymore.
Possibly, yeah. And absolutely.
There's a difference between an alignment on database and structure.
Yeah.
But like this is about actually understanding, hey, are we forward thinking?
Correct.
And I just, there was this great old school saying, it's like, I don't know, 50 times easier to be with an agency that's the number one in its marketplace than an agency who's number 15 with that aspiration.
Yes.
Because if you're number one, you do more opens, you do more auctions, you meet more people. And so literally it's about really, okay, great, we might not be there yet, but we're planning to be there.
Well, we've been at both. So we've been number 15, we've been number one. And I can tell you, it's a lot harder to be at number one than what is at number 15 because you've got to be fast, nimble, you've got to be progressive.
People got a target on your back.
That's exactly right. But I think you're absolutely spot on. If someone's taking something away from you that makes your life easier, and I think we're going to see a lot of this, Josh, over the next couple of years, particularly with AI. Well, actually, shouldn't even say years, months.
Yeah.
Right? I think anything that's going to enhance the agent's experience, that's going to remove friction to be able to get them to be able to prospect, list and sell, and to be able to enhance the customer experience on the buyer and seller side is an absolute positive. And those agencies that don't adapt or adopt probably won't be around in 6 to 12 months.
How important as the leader is it for you to have the power of the story about who we are and who we are becoming? Like, because people buy into the vision, and if that's then linked up to very clear, specific strategy and actions and behaviors that are witnessed in a workplace, people are like, this is a great place to work as an organization. So is it important for a leader to get that story right?
Absolutely. I mean, for us, when we started our journey at Parramatta, it was very simple. We wanted to have a vision that was so big that everyone wanted to be a part of and no one wanted to leave. And so we didn't have a lot of history. We didn't have success or a roadmap or sorry, I should say we had a roadmap, but we didn't have a glory file of everything that we had achieved. We had a roadmap of what the future looked like. So vision is critically important because any place that people want to go that's worth having need to understand what part they play, and they need to be able to be a part of that vision.
Con, there's an interesting part here too about like what you accept is your standard. And inside of an organization, we've spoken about values and all of the above. But if someone's allowed to do something that no one else is allowed to do and they get away with that behavior, poor behavior at the Christmas party, poor behavior in the workplace, treat people differently, and that stuff's allowed, that really can crush a culture, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it starts as a tumor, it starts, forms of cancer, and then it becomes absolutely, very hard to peel back. I think it all starts with what it is that you're trying to achieve as a leader in real estate. And I think we measure GCI and performance much more than what the values are. And I've been a part of groups and businesses where we've seen top agents leave. Either they've left or we've asked them to leave in my previous roles. And we've seen this undercurrent that literally just come up and outperform even that top operator. So for me, it's got to be an even keel. You got to have an even playing field in terms of your values, your principles, what you're up for and what you accept and what you don't. And that's got to be clearly communicated right at the start.
Experiences that rapidly shaped you.
Con, one of the interesting things that I had a really early mentor who had said to me that, Josh, if you want to learn everything about leadership, the basic way to do it is that have a look at the best bosses that you had and what did they do, and do more of that behavior, and have a look at the worst bosses that you ever had and don't do what they do.
Do less.
And I just think about that all the time, So like literally when I first started in the newspaper game, there was like the greasy keyboard and the eyelashes and all that sort of stuff on the new laptop they'd give me, which was clearly someone else's, especially when their family photo was in the back wallpaper. You start to see those things. I'm like, I never want to do that. So I had that brand new experience for my people that here's your brand new laptop and make all that sort of stuff happen. And the interesting thing is that literally you learn that leadership is not that hard. But it's not until you get into a leadership role that then you realize maybe how dysfunctional you were for your leaders to have to be managed and led all the time, rather than actually picking up the bootstraps and actually doing something with it. Con, what's an experience that's rapidly shaped you?
I think I heard years ago, I happened to be at an Inman conference, I think it was like 2014 or 15, and I heard a guy talking about recruitment and talent attraction, and he said, he was from San Francisco, he said, the best recruits are the ones sitting in the seats in your office right now. And that's always really stuck with me because they're the ones that I want to be able to nurture, grow, foster. They're the people that have come on the journey, have bought into the vision, are part of the network, are part of the infrastructure, but maybe we haven't done the best thing. Rather than going to have to recruit or attract another agent from another office, what about if we just worked on a plan for them to be able to get them from where they are to where they want to be?
Something that's changing your view.
So I have an alternate view on the AI Because I was having a quick little conversation, and Berkshire Hathaway, and the interesting one, Warren Buffett, has sold 50% of his stake in Apple last week. And the interesting conversation on that is that the belief is that that's not going to be the growth engine that it was, in terms of the invention of the iPhone and blah, 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 blah. And so he's made a decision to do that. And a lot of companies are now working out, particularly those that are producing these AI products, that they're not actually able to get commercialization. So, it was pretty cool about, generation. We could, generate some text, generate some images. Yeah. But in terms of real significant productivity improvements, there's some good stuff over data. But people aren't necessarily paying for it, and it's really costly to run all of the service. And so what this whole idea is that ultimately the thing that's changing my mind is that it's an AI experiment. It's not that AI is going to win. It's the agent who's got AI together that's going to win over the one who doesn't. So learning how to use technologies appropriately so that then you can go and maximize your performance. And that's where I think like a lot of people get it wrong. And I saw this ad on Instagram the other day, and it was like this AI calling bot that can do these calls.
Yeah.
And it was like, and they had this sample, and it was like, "Hi, Khan, I'm calling because you have filled in the web form and you would like to sell your house. Is that correct?"
Yeah.
Khan's like, "Yes. Congratulations. Owning a house is a really important thing for your net wealth."
Yeah.
Now, what location are you located in? "Oh, Sydney." "Great. I can get one of our," and you're just like, that call's never happened. No. That's never happened in the history of real estate. Like literally, because if they filled in the web form, they would have given the address for starters. And Sydney, like, what are you talking? Like, respectfully, Neutral Bay? Are we talking Mossman? Or are we talking all the way down to Cronulla? Or are we over out to Parramatta? And so what I'm trying to get at is that, like, that's not the application.
Correct.
The data science, bring the data together, being able to produce more predictive stuff, that's good, but you still actually have to go and make the call.
Yeah, 100%. I think, people think that technology is going to disintermediate the agent. It's not. The agent that can actually adopt with technology is going to be the one that wins the race in the future.